everybody, welcome to Toyah at Home. I hope you are all safe and well. Now, it's pretty evident by your questions this week that all of you acknowledge Halloween, because most of the questions are either asking about the ghosts in this house or what does our cellar look like. So I'm going to put this all into one. The cellar is a place I normally don't come to very often. Firstly, because it's Robert's practice room, and secondly, because it is incredibly haunted. So here I go. This part of the house was built around the 1500s during the dissolution of the monasteries. So all of this stone that you see was pinched from our local abbey when it was all knocked down. Basically, the town and the villages round here were built on the stones of the knocked down abbey. So this room in particular used to be the food store for the monastery nearby that had 3 lakes. We're on the River Avon, so the food would be delivered, the grain would come up the River Avon, it would be carried through the paths. Now, one that we picked up on immediately stands by this door. So that is the door to the coal shuttle, and there is a monk that has always been there. I am devout because I don't go to church every day and every Sunday, but Robert and I meditate and we pray every day. So the 5 devout Christians live in the town. There was my great friend John Wayne, otherwise known as Rubies. He was with if you've ever seen Little Britain or side, as am I. Rula Lenska is Buddhist and doesn't believe in the continuation of the personality, but the continuation of the soul. So as soon as we came down here and we were filming in the dark, Rula started to collapse. Now, Rula is one of the most intelligent, sensible human beings I have ever known. And we didn't know what was going on. And Julie started to touch the wall and slide down the wall, and she was just completely taken over. And she was shouting, "The children, the children." So what she saw and where she was transported to is something I had no idea about and had never sensed myself. So during the plague, and I'm talking centuries ago, the village locked the children in this cellar to protect them from catching the plague. And sadly, what happened was the adults caught the plague and the children were left to fend for themselves. So I had no idea of this. Rula, we carried her up to the next floor, revived her. She insisted to be taken away as one of the experiences in her life that changed her whole view of why and what we are and why we are here. So I hope I haven't scared anyone too much, but that is the story of this particular room. So I'm going to take you upstairs now and continue to answer your questions. But before I do that, our first song today is from Trading Boundaries and Plunged into Darkness, and it's the wonderful It's a Mystery. Enjoy.
Somewhere in the distance, hidden from my view, suspended in the atmosphere, waiting to come through. Sometimes it's so far away, sometimes it's very near, a sound being carried by the wind, just loud enough to hear. I feel its power within me, bells ringing in my head. Cry, but forgotten what I said. It's a mystery, oh, it's a mystery. I'm still searching for a clue. Oh, it's a mystery to me. A shot in the dark, the big question mark. the dark. Sirens in the distance are gonna steer you from your path. He's gonna lift you to the heavens, put your troubles in the past, whisper the lecture and vanish in a blast. It's a mystery, oh it's a mystery. I'm still searching for a clue. Oh, it's a mystery to me. A shot in the dark, the big question mark in history. Is it a mystery to you? It's a mystery to me. A mystery to me. To me, to me, to me. It's a mystery. Oh, it's a mystery. I'm still searching for a clue. Oh, it's a mystery to me. A shot in the dark, the big question mark in history. Is it a mystery to you? It's a mystery. Oh, it's a mystery. I'm still searching for a clue. Oh, it's a mystery to me. A shot in the dark, the big question mark in history. Is it a mystery to you? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That was It's a Mystery with the brilliant Chris Wong, our wonderful Colin Hines and Mike Nichols on double bass. So you have been asking me about the ghosts in this house. So I have shown you the cellar. This house has 5 floors and I'm now on my way to the attic. But I've just heard a little snuffling in this room. Hello, baby.
I am not a ghost, I am a material object full of love.
So if someone was to ask you about, is this house haunted, Robert?
Yeah, this house is very haunted. I have a problem, however. When I'm in my shower room in the morning, all alone and safe, I feel presences all around me. And I think this must be imagination. And then I turn and there is my wife hiding behind a little window that opens from the library.
Yeah, I'm practicing to be a poltergeist.
You're well on the way to complete success, Lily.
So have you ever experienced the Squire's sisters who walk down this corridor, open this door and go through that room?
No, I haven't smelt the smoke, but we have heard various knocks. My wife is more sensitive to this than I am. However, we had friends to supper a few years ago, and T was taking care of urgent business in her office. And the lady in our chums saw the woman in white going outside, going past the kitchen window to the back door and wondering what Toyah was doing outside when she thought she was upstairs.
Yes.
It was about 8 years ago, just after your
Which
programme.
I just described downstairs in the cellar on the programme What Happened to Rula Lenska.
Yeah. Well, supposedly our home was cleared and I was in the little delicatessen down the road and I was standing there all quietly waiting with my tasty loaf of bread to buy, and the little man came in and he said to the person who was serving, he said, you might like to tell Toyah, he said, I'm a medium and she has 5 spirits in her house. I've just been by and if you would like to tell her, I'd be very happy to come and clear them.
Yeah, we think 5 was an underestimation.
Well, it's certainly a very busy house.
All right, well, thank you, baby. I love you.
Hello, chums. Hello, chums at home.
So we're going up to the attic because this completes the questions of how many ghosts do we see in this house, what does the cellar look like, and which part of the house is the most haunted. So this is the top floor. I just never come up here, and you'll know why in a second. This is a lounge, and it was Bill's lounge when Bill lived with us. So it's a big space. Whoop, there we go. So again, it's a music practice room, it's a lounge, it's enormous. This was my grandfather's toy. I'm going to take the moth thing off it. And lots of little things here, like someone made me that, which I think is really cute. This is the tutu my mother made me when I was doing my first ballet exam at the age of 4.5 with the little shoes. And this is Robert's school cap and tie. And this is my school photo, and that is me. So I very rarely come up here, but anyway, there is one hell of a story about this room, and it completes the story of what happened in the cellar. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Jane Owen says, what has been the most frightening experience in this house? The interesting thing about this house, when Robert and I discovered it, we had just bought a lifetime home in Dorset. And my father encouraged Robert and I to come and see this house because there was a for sale sign on the river and we were being nosy. And the moment we walked in, we knew this was our lifetime home. It was so powerful, I burst into tears and cried for a whole day because we just didn't think it would be possible to live here. But it was. It became possible. This house has such an extraordinary power about it that virtually everyone that comes in here has the same experience. Kate Bush walked in here and she said, I know this house. I know this house. I've been here before. So the story I'm about to tell you is nothing I have ever experienced in this house. I have never felt safer, happier, more in touch with the universe than I have ever when I am in this house. It is beautiful. So we were down in the cellar filming. We had to get Rula Lenska out the house. We then came up here and it hadn't been developed and decorated at this point. It was just an empty attic. And we were down to just me, John Wayne, our 5 devout Christian friends. And we came up here, and at this point, our devout friends just were not having any of it. They thought it was all kind of the imagination and everything. And then we were up here, and the lights were out, and we were filming in night vision. And 2 of my friends became possessed. And these are really close friends. One of them cuts my hair. And he just screamed. He screamed, I'm being hung. I'm being hung. I can't breathe. And then that other friend just collapsed. He collapsed on the floor. And we had to get them out of this particular room. And it was a possession. Again, this experience has completely changed how they feel about what we are, why we're here, and what we become. It's a very powerful experience. So I don't come up here often. The name of the person who was hung here was Simon. He was wrongly accused of something, as many people were in the 1700s, and died innocently. It was a court held in this attic, and his death, as far as I'm concerned, was illegal, but in the eyes of the law then, legal. He was a scapegoat. So myself, and I believe it was Ian Lawman who was doing the exorcism, we cleared the room. But the most extraordinary thing, it was 1 a.m. by this point, and I was on my own, Robert was on tour. everyone left. They left me alone in the house. And I was thinking, oh, it was just too much. That is the only time I have been frightened in this house, and never again since. And probably because I mentioned last week, there's a lot of spirit here that I love passionately. There's beautiful, beautiful spirits here. There's the Squire sisters, and I adore them. And you smell their cigarette smoke, you smell their perfume. So I hope that answered your question, and I hope I haven't spooked you out too much. Now, last week, I was saying that Calamity Jane was at the Shaftesbury Theatre, Drury Lane. Now, I make these mistakes often. The Shaftesbury Theatre is on Shaftesbury Avenue. I'm studying very quickly the history, this is for a TV programme, the history of Drury Lane Theatre, Covent Garden Theatre, the Haymarket Theatre and Sadler's Wells. So my head at the moment is a bit pickly, and also I'm on Posh Pop, Toyah's, my solo album. So I apologise for that glaring mistake last week. So again, Jane Owen, you say Velvet Lined Shell is your favourite album. Will I ever be writing with Tim Elsenberg again? Yes, I think so, because one of the big resets I've had in lockdown is I want to be more focused on creating new music. I will do live shows, but I'm going to do specialised tours, like Toyah and Hazel, or just Toyah solo tours, but they're going to be concentrated so I can have a more creative life. In lockdown, being able to be here, I've been able to develop my Facebook, my Twitter, I mean, everything creative I've been able to develop purely because I have been here. Normally, I'm never here, I'm always travelling. So you say, will I write with Tim Elsenberg? Absolutely. I think he is a genius of a writer, and I intend to broaden my writing partnerships. This year, purely writing with Simon Darlow. We are thinking about putting a band together and all of that for what we are writing in this specific moment, which is like nothing either of us have ever done before. Someone very kindly asked, and I want to find your name, you say, how is the writing going? Yes, Jonathan Edwards, you say, how has lockdown affected the writing on this album? Great question, Jonathan. The writing is passionate. It's about community. It's about resurfacing. It's about renewal. It's still very much a Toyah album because Simon and I are the writers. I'm one of the main lyricists, obviously with Simon. We very much work together 50-50, but what's coming out has a passion that I can only back reference to The Vow, Heal Ourselves, Hurricane. It's got this whirlwind of passion, and it's not about me, it's about us. So I hope that's answered that question for you. It's a really good question. And obviously Mr. Fripp is playing on it under his Toyah album title of Bobby Wilcox. So, Hal, you ask, who designed and made your stage costumes and outfits? Well, in the late 70s and the early 80s, it was Melissa Kaplan. And then I used Swanky Modes for the Rebel Run outfit. They fabulous, based in Camden. I'm not sure if they still exist. I know the shop isn't there anymore, but I just loved everything. A lot of my daytime clothes in the 80s were Swanky Modes. Now I just search the internet because you can find such phenomenal designs on the internet. Sean Chapman always does my makeup and my jewellery design for photo shoots and for video shoots. So a lot of that invention, the coil jewellery and all of that, was Sean's imagination. So for the future, and I will say this, having taken up martial arts in lockdown and weightlifting, I'm a lot more confident of my physical appearance. Therefore, I feel that I'm willing to invest in a designer when it comes to touring costumes. Up until, I think the past 8 years, I kind of was losing body confidence. But now I really feel I'm the old Toyah again. So I'm willing to push the boat out and be a little bit more extreme in what I do. That said, I've been thinking a lot about the pink hair question. And I purchased a wig for today's broadcast, and it was pink. Put it on. I hated it. And I think, let me say why I hated it. I just looked like Toyah, 62 years old, trying to be Toyah at the age of 23. It didn't feel right. So I just took it off. That's why my hair is all kind of scrunched and messy. This is who and what I am. I might have pink highlights when I tour. I might have pink ends, but fully pink, I just have done it. I've lived it, and I'm now here. So you made me explore that, and that's not you blame, it's thank you. You made me explore that, and I now know which direction to go in. So thank you for bringing that question and possibility up. I am really grateful for it. Christina, you ask, do I design my own jewellery and would I consider a jewellery range? Now, I've been here a few times with people and it tends to be incredibly time consuming. But here's a few things I made in lockdown. So these, I made these in lockdown because because I'm not gigging, there's no income for my company. So I just would not buy jewellery while I can't gig. It would be a complete irresponsibility to my band and everyone else. So I think my company's taken about £48 in 7 months. So this is very inexpensive. And my friends have all said, will I make them for them? This is blue jade beads, and this is a little Buddha. Oh, and the most expensive thing is the silver clip. So what I did with this, Buddha, I mean, it cost about 10 quid on Etsy, beads, Amazon. I just took the beads on their natural threading when they arrived and just used super glue to just attach and strengthen all the attachments, put it all together. So I'm just showing you this because these are just so easy and so inexpensive to make. And I hope my girlfriends aren't watching because they might be getting them. But this was an opal that Bill and his wife Frankie gave me. They got it in Mexico. They said it cost nothing. They just know that I collect stones. So I had that made into a ring. This is the hardest thing I've ever made and designed. Now, I know they're simple. They're just gold discs with garnet. But I made those in a jewellery shop, at a jewellery workshop in Lewis on the south coast. And boy, that was a learning curve because the dedication, the smelting, the filing, the polishing, that taught me that jewelers work incredibly hard and don't use super glue when they are making their stuff. So I'm very good at getting components and putting them together. So this is a beautiful kind of double pearl within a shell. And I just put together the ribbon and the silver necklace. But here are some of my designs. And this would be really expensive to manufacture. So I'm a stone collector. Those are aquamarine. As you can see, they're very large. Funny enough, not super expensive when I got these a good 10 years ago. But now, as I've mentioned before in my broadcast, China is so enamored with what's called semi-precious stones, they've driven the price up. So this was made by a local jeweler, and I just again got him to use existing components and put it together. So the necklace already existed. So I do that a lot. Would I ever manufacture? Well, this is where I get inventive. So these, if you take some really pretty beads that move you, and then you just go online and get these fantastic hooks, clips. I mean, you've just got yourself an incredibly inexpensive collection of semi-precious bracelets and necklaces. It's the easiest thing in the world to do. And if you're not confident in your threading or how you kind of attach things, sew it together and put the littlest dab of super glue on it, and it's going to be secure through thick and thin. I love making my own stuff. You know, as people knit when they watch telly, I'm always, every table in the house has a project on it that does get finished. And it's how I think. When I'm doing jewellery, or when I'm doing my gilt leafing for Robert's aphorisms, or for the lyric sheets, you know, I'm just thinking of lyrics. It's all coming through. So I'm always active. So thank you very much for that question. I mean, it was fun to get all that out and have a look at it. In lockdown, you know, I've not been really wearing jewellery, but I love making my own stuff, as you can guess. Now, Jean Stobart, this is a really interesting question. It surprised me in a way. You say when you play a character that has been played by another actor, i.e. Queen Elizabeth I in Derek Jarman's Jubilee, who was played by Jenny Runacre in the film, how difficult is it to put your own stamp on a version of that character? Well, I never ever go into a production thinking I'm going to play Queen Elizabeth I that's being played by Glenda Jackson, that's been played by Judi Dench, that's been played by Jenny Runacre, and now it's going to be played by me. Never, never. I go into a production and I study Queen Elizabeth I. Now, the interesting thing about Jubilee, the stage production, Chris Good asked me to play Queen Elizabeth I. And of course, Jenny Runacre has this superb history of playing it in Jubilee, the movie. And she was very good and honourable about it. I think she would have loved to be Queen Elizabeth in the stage version. It goes without saying. If there's a stage version where Mad is played by someone else, I'd love to have played, you know, Mad in that stage version. So when Jenny came to see the show in Manchester at the Royal Exchange on the opening night, I found her backstage and I took her and I introduced her to cast and crew, you know, to make sure she felt included. And again in London, she was very much present because, and what I found interesting about this, because I find this as Toyah Wilcox, the creative, women have to make their presence known. We have to remind people of who and what we do, who and what we have done. And I made sure Jenny did not feel left out of this production, because her history is valuable to everyone and especially to her. So to get this question from Eugene, no, I did not feel I had to put my stamp on it over what Jenny Runacre did in the film Jubilee, because we were both playing really one of the most famous, the most vicious, the most ambitious, the most flirtatious woman in history. That's who I focused on. But I have great love and respect for Jenny Runacre, who is an astonishing filmmaker. And I just didn't want her to feel not included. So it's a great question, and it opens up so many levels about what it is like to be a woman in this profession when we get older, and when we have to keep reminding people of our history, me included. So fantastic question, Jean Stobart. Thank you so much. So we move on to Anthony Flynn. As it's Halloween, I have noticed, thank you, Anthony, and normally I wouldn't notice, believe me, I wouldn't. What was it like working on horror films like Swipe Right? Oh, this is a great question. Swipe Right, Doll's House, and Heckle. Well, Auntie, this is extraordinary because on all of those films, I was only booked for one day. And part of that is cost. These are low-budget films made by very creative teams. So on Swipe Right, I got to work with Sean Cronin for the first time, and both he and I were brought in for one day. Sean was brought in because the original director was ill that day, and we shot my scenes of this mad kind of institution scientist in the town hall at Dover. And at the time, Colin Hines was in the world, and he was living across the road, and Andy Doble was living near the castle. So it was like going home. And we had a day to shoot my scenes. Oh, I tell a lie. We also did some sequences in Greenwich, in a girls' school in Greenwich on a second day. But we have to work really quickly. And on these films, a very low budget, and with Swipe Right, they were in a bit of turmoil because their crew was not well. So I ended up doing props with Sean Chapman's daughters, beautiful girls, hope for the future, as well as acting. And doing, making sure all the props were in the right place for every take, that continuity was there. That doesn't happen on every film. Very enjoyable to do. Doll's House, I was booked for one day to do a sequence of 2 scenes. It was fabulous. I loved it because I was allowed to do a possession. And with Steve Smith, I sat down with him and I said, I really want to do it this way. And he went, oh, and I said, I can't have anyone in the room because what I'm about to do is either going to freak people out or make them laugh. So can I just be you and me in the room? And he agreed. And it was just fabulous. And then we brought the seance audience in and I reenacted it in front of them just so that they could see what they were reacting to. And the reaction was, I mean, they really didn't like it. So I loved doing that film. And Heckle, again, I was on for one day with a lot of dialogue and quite a few scenes and absolutely adored it. But when you work that quickly, it's, you know, everyone is on your side. But what I never expected, Heckle, I'm getting all the pictures in the press. Doll's House, I became top billing. And Swipe Right, I'm not sure how that's going at the moment. I don't think it's out just yet. But, you know, I get the top billing, which is always really interesting. Anthony, thank you so much for that question. Absolutely brilliant. So we're going to end on Laura Farris. Now, Laura, you say I'm always vibrant and energetic. Thank you very much, Laura. Do you consider the placement of the planets and how their energies might play into your projects? If so, would you give an example? Okay. Yes. Yes. And yes. So the one thing I follow, and I've educated Robert to follow, and even my agents to follow, is that during Mercury in retrograde, which we're into about the 13th of November at this moment in time, is we do not sign contracts and we do not do contract agreements that come into fruition during this 3-week period that happens 3 times a year. So Mercury in retrograde is when the Mercury appears to be moving backwards, but it's actually not. It's just probably just standing still. It's an illusion. But things that are developed during Mercury in retrograde tend to fail. So electronics fail. And if you have to draw up a new contract during that period, it might not be a successful contract. So we all follow that. So yesterday's full moon, and it might still be full moon today, is a hazardous full moon. It's a bringer of possibly bad news because it's in Taurus and I'm Taurus. So we always prep ourselves. We're always aware of the potential and we don't do things to aggravate it. So we are aware of that. And am I aware of any more? Probably not. And the reason I'm hesitating is there is an astrologer that I really trust who all the LA agents use, all the actors use, and she's called Susan Miller. And you can Google her name. She does free broadcasts and you can pick out the dates that she recommends you do things on. And she's always right. Now, the good news with Susan Miller, she thinks that by the 12th of January, the vaccine will be available to all of us. Now, obviously, it's going to take time for a vaccine to be given to everyone in the world. But she thinks that the pandemic will be increasing right through November, December, but then we find a solution around January the 12th. So she does deliver a lot of good news. She also says, really, don't bother traveling in this time period because it is the pandemic time. And she relates that to the strength of Pluto. She says whenever Pluto is in a certain place, you got the plague, you get the flu, you get pandemics. So if you know nothing about this kind of astrology, don't go to the complex stuff. Just look at Susan Miller. because she is stunning. So I hope that helps. So everybody, thank you so much for your questions. Hopefully by now you've seen the little clips and the pictures of Simon Darlow, Mr. Bobby Wilcox and myself in the studio working on Posh Pop. It's a phenomenal time. There's a lot of great things happening. I've had an art commission on 25 pieces of my gilt work to be gifted to actresses at a big award ceremony next year. I mean, that's my first art commission. I am just so happy. I've also just received one of the most fantastic scripts I've ever read, written for a woman of my age, which I've said yes to. So hopefully that will all happen, and it's a lead. Things are good. Now, Robert told me off last week when I ended both Toyah at Home and Agony Aunts, saying to people, find happiness. Because we know, believe me, we know that some of you are alone. Some of you might be struggling financially, struggling with missing your loved ones, struggling in being in lockdown with people that you don't get on with. So I just want to say what I mean. Happy I was the target. So I've learned health practitioner, but it's so much better to help heal yourself, to do it and to help make decisions in your life when you are resonating happiness. Look at a look at a picture of your grandchild. Look at a picture of someone you love. Look at a picture or listen to the music of someone who inspires you. It changes you. And that's what I'm saying. So forgive me if I sound flippant. I don't mean to. We have so much negative news. We have so much negative messages coming our way. We deserve to be good and feel good and to be happy within our bodies. And that's what I mean. So everyone, thank you so much for your questions and thank you for all your wonderful feedback, and happy Halloween. Lots of love to you all. See you tonight for Toyah and Robert's Agony Aunts and for tomorrow Toyah and Robert's Sunday lunch. I'm thinking of you. I really care, and thank you so much for everything you give back to me. Bye for now. Brave new world.
start a brand new world. Just like this universe.
If you watched Top of the Pops back in the day, we've got some great news for you. A brand new series with a fabulous theatrical Toyah.
You are all so wonderful.